he's now a part of that government. So there is no way around it. Of course, in the meantime, we have Poroshenko saying, well, of course, he's really a moderate. He's interested in federalism. Well, if you're putting in a Nazi and talking about federalism, I'm afraid not. Maybe Poroshenko's idea is to go back to the Gauleiter system, right? Something like this. We have these intendants sent in, right, with dictatorial life and death powers. Notice also in the post-Charlie Hebdo era, we have the case of a distinguished Canadian musician, a creative artist. Her name is Valentina Lisitsa, Lisitsa. She was going to have two solo. She was the soloist with the Toronto Symphony Orchestra for this coming week, and she was fired. At least she was ousted from these two solo first piano engagements because she is critical of the Kiev fascist clique, and that would have been Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2, and some other music. So what's going on here? How about the Charlie Hebdo era of free speech over there? This is now the reactionary Stephen Harper. So watch out for all that. Now, there's an interesting conference going on, the Paris Economic Conference. We can't talk too much about this, but Joseph Stiglitz, Robert Johnson, these are the Piketty people. This is Piketty's charge. Piketty's charge is going on in Paris right now, and they were on France 24, very interesting. And they say, look, the economics profession has struck out. We ran the ship onto the rocks, but now they're trying to regroup. They're trying to save their jobs, in other words. They're trying to hang on to their posts by saying, now we understand the main issue is inequality. Yeah, wait a minute. The breakdown crisis did not come directly from inequality. It caused a lot of inequality. This was a matter of derivatives speculation. And the fact that there's no upturn is because the derivatives are there. Wall Street is not taxed, and the Federal Reserve serves the bankrupt, kited, toxic derivatives still held by the zombie bankers and hedge fund hyenas, and not the entire economy. So they're trying to refurbish their image. They talk about Occupy. They talk about the 99%. They talk about the Tocqueville's Ancien Régime and the Revolution. They say that's a bestseller in China right now. Stiglitz's book is The Price of Inequality. Wait a minute, boys. And Piketty, too. How about this? I want to hear one concrete measure, one, that you are willing to advocate, but seriously. You guys were on France 24 for half an hour today. Marcus Carlson, I think the guy's name was. And you didn't recommend anything. You guys are Keynesians. Can't you at least support the Wall Street sales tax? Can't you please be in favor of some one concrete measure? They say, oh, it's a wonderful victory that everybody realizes there's a crisis. I can take you to the Bowery and find 500 people who will tell you, yeah, there's a depression. But Stiglitz and Johnson say, but, of course, we disagree on what to do about it. Yeah, right. The McConnell-Boehner answer is to lie about it, right? To blame unions, to blame the federal government. God knows. This will not do. Stiglitz, Johnson, Heckman, Piketty, all of you, we want to hear one concrete measure. I think the line of least resistance is the Wall Street sales tax. Make it a 1% Wall Street sales tax, including derivatives, including a beefed up LaSalle Street tax, and use that at least to combat the crisis of the government budgets, the U.S. federal budget, and so forth across the world. Now, obviously, we could go on then and demand the nationalization of the central banks as banks for the entire economy, as national banks, not just bankers' banks. But maybe that's too much for these people. I don't want to overload them. One of their writers, if you go to their website, is a guy called Richard Vague, Vague. So Richard Vague, why don't you guys rely less on the vague theory and a little bit more on the specifics, and worry a little bit less about your jobs and the fact that you're discredited, because you are, and try to rehabilitate yourself and redeem yourself by demanding that Wall Street pay, that LaSalle Street pay. Poor Chuy Garcia lost to Rahm. We told you this was coming. You could see this a mile away, and we did, and we told you. Chuy refused to even mention a transaction tax or the LaSalle Street tax, or heavens to Betsy, the Wall Street sales tax of 1%. So down he goes to ignominious defeat. You cannot trust the Democratic Party. Wisconsin has done. This is Webster Tarpley reporting to you from Washington, D.C., and we are once more lucky to be able to go to our observer in Athens, Greece. This is the unbeatable Michael Chiotinis, who has called all of the main turning points in this crisis correctly. That is to say, the Greek government against the Troika, the International Monetary Fund, the European Central Bank, pardon me, and the European Commission. So this week we had a big event. We had Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras went to Moscow on Wednesday and Thursday. So let's see what we can find out about what happened and what didn't happen in that trip. Michael, welcome.
Hello, Webster. Hello to all your listeners. Now, let me go straight to the point. Some say that the Tsipras trip to Moscow was a ploy for leverage, a sort of blackmail against the West, having to do with Greece's negotiations with its creditors. Okay, the EU and the IMF, and by extension the US. But I don't think that's true. You see, Greek farmers are suffering right now because of Russian counter-sanctions against European countries, including Greece. The problems of Greece are very strong, very serious problems, and the bilateral relations between Greece and Russia have nothing to do with financing the Greek problem or blackmailing the West. The Tsipras visit to Moscow opens a complete new chapter in Greco-Russian relations. Greece is effectively becoming an energy hub. This is an economic but also a political upgrade for Greece. And it shows that Greece is an independent country. Okay, it can form its own alliances. It can develop relations with any country in the world, and it's not a debt colony. So there's a difference between Greece, Tsipras blackmailing the West, and Tsipras declaring that Greece is an independent country. You see the difference, I hope.
Michael, let's just take this apart a little bit and bore into it. First of all, the Greek agricultural sector, and maybe some idea of Greek exports in general right now, but the main idea is that Russia has a food embargo against the European Union. It's a counter-sanction. So what kinds of things does Greece export that are now being interfered with by this?
Agricultural products by 90%. 90% of all exports.
Which ones? Tell us about it.
It's strawberries and those kind of oranges.
I've read peaches. Olives.
Yes, of course. Any of those things.
So it's Mediterranean and fruits.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a big deal, right? There still is quite an agricultural sector. Wine, I suppose, right? Wine.
Yes, yes, it's a huge sector, and it's 90% of all exports from Greece to Russia, and trade between the two countries have declined from last year by 40%. That's a huge thing. The Greek farmers are destroyed effectively. So,
all right. Can we now, let's move on to the second point you were making, right? The energy hub. What does that energy hub look like? Are we talking about pipelines? How does it look?
Yes. So the proposed new pipeline is what they call the Greek pipeline. That's Tsipras decided to call it that, as opposed to the Turkish stream. It's an extension to the Turkish stream, and but it's called the Greek pipeline, and it will begin at the Greek border with Turkey, and then at the border with the former Yugoslavic Republic of Macedonia, or Macedonia, as you know. There's a name dispute between Greece and Macedonia over its name, because Macedonia used to be an ancient Greek territory, and in part, the north part of Macedonia is now occupied. Is now what is the country